This video will contain spoilers.
There's no shortage of villains in Rave Master. The overarching villain in this story is an eldritch abomination that will literally devour time and space. The final boss of the series has the same powers as the main character and tries his hardest to be Dio. One of the final sub-bosses is a man with a sword so massive that you have to wonder if he's overcompensating for something. And what all these guys have in common is that they are all defeated in a one-on-one battle. Uta is defeated when Let turns himself into a dragon, Haru's Revolt overpowers Lucia's Dark Amalia, and finally Endless gets nuked by Ellie. Most fights in Rave Master are one-on-ones. Sometimes when necessary, the heroes will team up to do a 2-on-1 and in rare cases even a 3-on-1. However, there's only one villain in this story that required Haru to bring his whole squad in against him. That was Pumpkin Doryu. Kinda sounds like a stupid name, admittedly. However, he was fighting off 6 of the heroes at the same time. And he was winning. Haru needed to manifest the 10 Commandments into a sort of pure light in order to have a chance at beating him, and still failed in his initial attack against Doryu. Haru's squad would need to jump in and wail on Doryu a second time in order to give Haru the opening he needed to finally finish him off. Pumpkin Doryu was so terrifying and Haru was so close to losing that Haru decided to name a 3rd Rave Master just in case he were to die against Doryu. But who is this man? This absolute Sigma male that sadly never made it into the anime before it got cancelled. Well, Doryu was a demi-human. Specifically, he was a demon. Once upon a time, Doryu escaped the demon world to journey into the human world. He was described as a being of darkness wandering into the world of light. At this time, the relationship between humans and demi-humans of all kinds, was sour. Romantic relationships were considered taboo among both species. Doryu wanted to change that. He'd start small. He decided to create a town where humans and demi-humans could live in harmony. For 10 years, this man worked, all for the purpose of buying up the land needed to construct this town. How I want to say a janitor managed to buy up all this land and the materials necessary to build these houses may in fact be the greatest feat in this series. But one way or another, after 10 years, his dream came to fruition in the form of a town he would call Albesk. Unfortunately, old prejudice die hard. One day, 2 kids were playing, a human child and a demi-human child. The human child was scratched by the demi-human child. Now, to be fair, that looks like a pretty bad scratch, and if I were the parent, I would be terrified of what was done to my child. On the other hand, this was clearly an accident. 2 kids were simply playing, and just looking at the other child, you can tell that he feels really bad about it. I'm sorry, I won't do that again. That said, the human boy's mother unleashed her inner Karen and kicks off a race war. After a while, the town gets split in 2, with humans on one side and demi-humans on the other. Eventually, the demi-humans themselves decide that they're gonna leave the town, and that leaves only Doryu remaining in the town. Doryu had built this town with his own sweat, blood, and tears. and he built it to be a place where humans and demi-humans could coexist, and he wasn't willing to give up on his dream just yet. Unfortunately, every day he was in that town, he would get beaten by the humans that remained. Humans belonged to the light. Demi-humans belonged to the dark. Every day, Doryu faced the judgment of the light. Eventually, Doryu would be imprisoned in the darkest cell the villagers could find. He was left in there for 100 days until his salvation came. Not the light, but the darkness itself. He was found by Mother Darkbring. I don't think I've ever gone over the Darkbring in either of my videos, but essentially they are dark stones that grant a magical power to the wielder. But it also has the side effect of making them more evil when they're overused. The Mother Darkbring was one of the 5 most powerful variations of the Darkbring. When all 5 of them are brought together, they have the ability to destroy dimensions. With the Mother Darkbring, Doryu is able to free himself from his cell, but this version of him that escaped no longer wanted to create a peaceful world. In fact, he saw humanity as something that needed to be destroyed. As humanity had judged him, he would now judge humanity, and he found them wanting. Doryu would briefly be mentioned in the anime, but it would be about 25 manga chapters before he would actually be introduced to the series proper, well past the point where the anime ends. Between the destruction of Albesk and the present day in the manga, Doryu founded a criminal syndicate. This crime syndicate would have a run-in with Haru Glory, the current Rave Master. Haru and Doryu would fight once in a one-on-one battle. The results were not positive for Haru.
The village secret finger jutsu! 1,000 years of death!
I'm just kidding. Haru just got stabbed through the back. I'm not a doctor, but shouldn't that be where his spine is? Isn't getting stabbed through the spine a kill shot? Oh, there it is. Don't worry though, plot armor saves Haru from the grave. Haru is stabilized and healed, but his specific injury is not completely healed, and in fact, it will actually worsen at night, and he may not even make it through the night. Skipping non-important details, let's move on to round 2. As I mentioned earlier, Haru teams up with his whole squad in this battle. Round 2 goes a lot better because the gang is able to cover for each other anytime one of them is nearly killed, and they get to take advantage of any openings the other makes. Doryu actually takes a few hits this time. However, this wasn't even Doryu's final form. You see, prior to coming to the human world, Doryu nerfed himself so that he would appear to be more human, and in all these years afterwards, he never had a reason to unnerf himself. P.S. I'm estimating that it's been at least 15 years since Albesk. It may have been longer though. When Doryu finally shows his true form, things don't go very well for the heroes, which is when Haru unlocks the 8th form of the 10 Commandments, Million Suns, the previously mentioned Sword of Light. Doryu, being a demon with a darkness element, is weakened by a million suns. So Haru, with his new sword, lunges at Doryu, but I already told you how that went. Haru fails the first time around. Haru's crew jumps Doryu again. Doryu actually gets attacked by Therian. You remember Therian from Fairy Tail? They turned it into a kill satellite. Yeah, that's a Therian. One of the characters has the ability to cast it, and they hit Doryu with it. At that opening, Haru jumps in again, steals Doryu's jewelry, and finishes the fight off with Million Suns. So ends the tragic tale of Pumpkin Doryu. It's been suggested that he may still be alive after this battle, but he would never show up again in the manga. There's an old saying, the child who is not embraced by the village will burn it down to feel its warmth. Doryu wanted to embrace the light, but was spurned by the denizens of the light. As a result, he became the very thing they all feared him to be. Maybe if he had found Haru and his friends before his fall, things could have turned out different for him. But you know the funny thing? It's been pointed out to me that, despite hating humanity, Doryu actually employed several humans in his organization, and they all seem to get along well with each other. So in some way, Doryu's dream didn't completely die off with Albesk. Before closing off this video, I'm gonna do a little more simping for Doryu. There are 5 demon lords in this series. Doryu was considered the weakest of the 5, mostly due to his young age at the time. The other 4 appear at the end of the series as sub-bosses for the big bad. They mock Doryu for allowing himself to be defeated by humans. And to that, I have to say, dies in one hit, dies to a kiss, dies to a single human, dies to a dragon, which sounds kind of badass, but let's reiterate, so... Also, please like and subscribe to my page for more of my random ramblings. Please smash that like button and leave a comment. Peace.